Okay, concept 3 is on something called dimensional analysis. Dimensional analysis is a useful technique for unit conversions. Okay, so unit conversions would be something like how many meters are in a centimeter, okay? Or something like how many miles are in a yard, okay? So any of those types of questions can be answered with dimensional analysis. All right? Now, dimensional analysis takes advantage of the fact that any number can be multiplied by 1 and still stay the same number. Okay? Multiplied by 1 without changing its value. Okay, and dimensional analysis also uses something called conversion factors. I'm going to highlight this because this is something that is very important. Conversion factors describe two equal amounts. Okay, and it can be written in fraction form for dimensional analysis. So an example would be 1 foot equals 12 inches. This is a conversion factor, okay? And this can be written in fraction form as 1 foot over 12 inches. Or we can write it as 12 inches over 1 foot, okay? Now, before we get into some examples, let's look at how I want you to solve problems in this class, okay? We are going to use something called the 5-step method. The first step is identify the given and its unit. The second step, identify the answer you are trying to find and its unit. Third step, identify the conversion factors. And sometimes you won't just have a conversion factor, sometimes it's a formula that you need to use, okay? So the conversion factors or the formulas you need to solve the problem. Step 4, you're going to set up a dimensional analysis grid. And we're going to talk more about what this is in the examples, okay? So you're going to set up a dimensional analysis grid, or if you're using a formula, you're going to plug in the numbers. Okay, some details about the dimensional analysis grid. In the grid, you're going to write the given and its units in the top left box of the grid. You're going to enter the necessary conversion factors in the next few boxes. Okay? The trick in dimensional analysis is to put your factors in the grid in a way that cancels out the units you don't want. Okay? And what you're going to end up with are the units that you do want. Okay, so this is basically a little algebra trick. All right, so for example, if I have grams, that's my given, okay, and I want kilograms, I will put grams on the bottom, and that will cancel out. Because in math, we know that if something is in top and bottom, then they can cancel out. And that will leave kilograms for the end result. Okay, and that's the unit that we want. We can keep that. Okay, so that's the trick. All right, And finally, we're going to multiply all the numbers that are in the top and divide by all the numbers that are in the bottom. And a little note about this, you can ignore ones. Okay? So anytime you have a 1, you really don't have to multiply or divide by it, because a 1 doesn't change the value of the answer. Okay? Now the step 5 of the 5-step method is to use a calculator and do the math, and they're going to round the answer to the sig figs. Okay? Use the sig figs that are in the given. Once you have the answer, then you box it up and box up its unit. Okay? Alright, now let's look at some examples. Let's look at how do we exactly use this. Alright, how many seconds are in a day? Well, first step, what is the given? The given in this case is 1 day. Okay? We know it's 1 day because it says a day. Second step, what is the answer I'm looking for? Well, I'm looking for how many seconds. Third step, the conversion factors. Alright, so this is where you need to either look into the problem to find information or think about what you know already. Okay? You know that 1 day has 24 hours. We also know that 1 hour has 60 minutes. Okay? And finally, we know that 1 minute has 60 seconds. Alright, so it looks like we can follow this pattern and get from days to seconds. So let's look at how we put it into our dimensional analysis grid. Okay, to start out the grid, I'm going to draw something like this, just a horizontal line, and the first thing that I'm going to put in is the given. In this case, that's 1 day. Right? Set up the grid like that. Then the next thing that you have to figure out is, how do I get days to cancel out? Okay? And the way I get day to cancel out is to match it up. So top and bottom. Alright, our conversion factor says 1 day is 24 hours. This helps us cancel out days. And now we have hours to deal with. Okay? I don't want hours, I want seconds. So I want to keep going. Put hours on the bottom. And my conversion factor says 1 hour is 60 minutes. Okay? The hours will cancel. Now I have minutes to deal with. Well, I don't want minutes, I want seconds. So I'm going to keep going. I know that 1 minute is 60 seconds. Okay, minutes will cancel. Now I have seconds. That's exactly what I want. I'm going to stop right there. Now I can get into step 5, which is use a calculator. Okay? Alright, so what we're going to do is take everything on the top and multiply them. Everything on the bottom we divide, and if they're ones, then we can pretty much ignore them. Okay? So in this case, we just take 24 multiplied by 60 multiplied by 60. And the answer is 86,400. And for these types of questions where it's more practical in real life, it kind of depends on what it's asking before you round it off with the sig figs. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to keep all the digits. It's 86,400 seconds in a day. Alright, let's move on to the next page. Let's look at what would be an interesting example. I think that number 5 looks pretty interesting. An average human heart beats 60 times a minute. If an average person lives to the age of 75, How many times does the average heart beat in a lifetime? Okay, so let's see what I know. Our given is a lifetime. Okay, so I want to know how many times the heart can beat in one life. Okay, the answer that I'm looking for is how many beats. Alright, and the conversion factors in this problem is going to come from all the descriptions that came before the problem itself. Okay, so it says an average human heart beats 60 times a minute. An average person lives to the age of 75. So now I know that there are 60 beats for 1 minute. Okay? And I also know that one person's life, one life, is 75 years. Okay? And it looks like I have to somehow get from years to minutes, right? Okay, so I know that 1 year has 365 days, and 1 day has 24 hours, and 1 hour has 60 minutes. Alright, so it looks like I have 5 conversion factors. This is going to be a pretty big grid. Okay? Alright, so let's start with the one life. Alright, we know that one life is 75 years. Alright, this will help me cancel out this unit, life. Alright, then let's see, I have to get from years to days. So 1 year is 365 days. Okay, years will cancel, and now I'm left with days. Now I know that 1 day is 24 hours. The day will cancel, and now we have hours. 1 hour is 60 minutes. Hours will cancel, now I have minutes. And finally, in 1 minute, the heart beats 60 times, 60 beats. Okay, minutes cancel. Looks like we have what we want in our grid. Let's put it into the calculator. Alright, we can ignore that first one. 75 times 365 times 24 times 60 times 60. Okay, and wow, this is a pretty big answer. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 zeros. Let's see, 1,000, million, billion, 2 billion. Alright, so the answer is about 2 billion. We're just going to round it off. 2 billion beats. And there's your answer. Okay, I want you to try number 4, A and B by yourself. When you are finished, go to the part 2 of the video and check if you got the right answers.